All right, so here we go. All right, so this is JD Temple here from the Light of the Darkness, here with my dear brother JS Garrett.
What's up, brother?
Hey man, how are you?
I'm
Hey,
doing
not too
good.
much. Good, good. And thanks for being here with me on this Sunday evening. He and I were just wanting to get together really and talk about some experiences that we have had as a result of workings that we have done for one another. JS and I go way back, like probably like 9 years or 10 years now. Like it's been a while.
Almost
It's been a
10.
long time, maybe 8 years, something like that. Um,
It's
but
been
we've
right.
been
I think
doing
almost 9. Like it's right at 9.
it's it's been a long time, dude.
Yeah.
It's been so long. Like it feels like it's like been just like yesterday, but at the same time, like I know it's been forever ago. You know, since like we reached out to each other and after we read each other's excerpt into the Anthology of Sorcery, Volume 3, Book of Spells. And, you know, like I read your excerpt and I was like, dude, this is freaking awesome. And that's something that we're going to be talking about tonight is that, which is J.S. Garrett's really one of his premier rituals, which is the rite of deification. And when I read that essay in the Anthology of Sorcery, Volume 3, I was just blown away because I was like, holy shit, like this right here, you know, changes everything. Like I had never really considered the evocation of a living spirit before. And I've experienced it in several different ways with JS because it's a very versatile modality. You know, the evocation of living people is very versatile, which he has showed me, which I've only scratched the surface. I know that he's gotten into it way deeper than I have. But the rite of deification, it is an ancient art, really. And when you look at it, like people like Genghis Khan and a lot of these other people, you know, at their death, they were deified in this way. In that right, GS through like different like sacrifice of virgins and the sacrifice of like soldiers and horses and all of that at their death in order to like reinforce and strengthen their soul and their spirit at death. They would have all of these
Yeah.
living sacrifices made in their name.
Yeah. I mean, it never actually said what the purpose of the sacrifices were that were made at Genghis Khan's funeral. Only that the sacrifices were made. It was several young virgin women, like 200 horses, and everyone who attended the funeral was actually killed at the funeral by soldiers that were ordered to kill all these people at his funeral. And then whenever those soldiers returned, other soldiers had orders to kill all of them so that no one would know where his burial chamber was. It's never been found. And yeah, he went to great lengths and killed a lot of people in order to keep that a secret. And one would have to, I think most people assume that the idea behind sacrificing people and horses at his funeral is that they would join him in whatever the afterlife that they believed in was, you know, his soldiers, servants, and maidens. But after figuring out how to perform the deification rite, I look back at that and I'm like, I think maybe that's what he was doing. I don't think they were sacrificing them in order to go with him. I think maybe they were sacrificing them to him in order to quite literally attempt to turn him into a deity that rose to fourth level density. They say that you know, that he's one of the few humans in modern history that was able to ascend to fourth level density, or ascend to what we would call godhood.
And,
So
and,
yeah, I
and
mean,
that's really what we're after in this ritual that you've devised here. That's really in essence what we are doing in the deification of ourselves as a deity and having that sacrifice of flesh and blood made to us. And of course, in your rituals, you use animals, and I would be using animals if I were to do this too. And I just want to make it clear that you know neither JS nor I or anyone that we associate with condone the sacrifice of living people in any kind of way. We're just talking about history here and you know talking um, you know philosophy and things of that nature and magic. We're not really talking about actually going out and sacrificing people.
yeah,
But I
we're
just
talking
wanted
about
to
what the
I just wanted
ancients
to make
did.
that clear to yeah exactly, and I just wanted to throw that out there because you know a lot of people would jump on this topic in a heartbeat and start picking us apart. And I just wanted to make it very clear up front that, we're not talking about harming people in any kind of way or really doing any kind of harm to anyone here. This is
No.
all about empowerment, spiritual empowerment. And I know that since you have performed this ritual for me, JS, like it was really like a spiritual and magical rite of passage. Um, I felt a very significant ancient connection to it, like having it done for me, and then also performing it for you and being the operator of the ritual, like performing it for you, like on both ends of it. I felt a very, very ancient, like more of a connection to this ritual than I have really, and still to this day, any ritual that I've ever performed. This one felt like you do get swept away and almost taken back in time. Like, do you feel like you go back in time when you perform this rite? Because I know I do. It's so crazy, dude.
That's that's one way to describe it. I really couldn't describe the state of mind or the trance-like state that I go into when I'm performing this ritual. A lot of times I can barely remember the ritual. It's like remembering pieces of it. It seems like a dream afterwards. Like after I close out the ritual and I go take a shower and whatnot, the next day I'll look back and like, that seems like a fevered dream. Like it was so foggy, like I'm just totally in an altered state of consciousness. And it's I've noticed that it's had that whatever you sacrifice, whatever you place into the fire, has different animals have different effects on people. I originally received the idea. I was trying to figure out how to make a unhealthy, physically unfit person with a lot of health problems and no physical energy. I was trying to restore their health and energy, and I'd done several operations to attempt to do this with some success, but not achieving what I was going for, which was to essentially restore health and youth and energy levels. And so I'd asked during communion, meditation, at my altars, whatnot, like what can I do to fix this situation for this person? I didn't get an answer right away. It was like 3 days later, I was walking out the door. I was literally stepping out the front door, like 1 foot out the door, 1 foot still in the house. And it's like someone dropped a brick on my head. And it was like, boom. And it was like the ritual downloaded to me in the most simplistic way, and to where I felt stupid after receiving the formula for this. I was like, how the fuck have I not thought of this before? And I'm like, man, how has no one thought of this before? It makes so much sense. Like, if we really are spirits that are just inhabiting physical bodies, and if the reason we sacrifice animals or whatever to gods, goddesses, deities, angels, demons, whatever, they all like blood sacrifices, every single one of them, and that gives that entity power. If they're absorbing the life force energy of that creature that's sacrificed to them, and then the sacrifice is burned, the blood and the flesh is placed into the fire, and the fire is transmuting that physical flesh and blood into a type of energy that can be fully absorbed as it's burning by the spirit. Why couldn't I pull a living person's spirit out of body and give them a sacrifice directly and just see what the fuck happens? Like, maybe they'll absorb the energy from the sacrifice and it will affect them physically. So I didn't even know if it was possible. It was an experiment. I'm going to try it. I'm like, either I'm crazy or I just received something real here, which I knew it was going to work. I knew it was, but only one way to find out. And so, yeah, I performed the experiment. The results were actually mind-blowing. Complete turnaround of that person almost overnight. They started looking younger, healthier. Their energy levels were back. They were pinging off the fucking walls for months afterwards. Their hair had started falling out because they were so unhealthy. That grew back thick. Fingernails grew in thicker. Libido, everything. Like it did the trick. And so, of course, I continued to experiment on other people willingly. And it's like, hey, let me try this on you and see what happens. And I did it multiple times and got the same result. And so yeah, whenever Become a Living God put out that challenge, like what's the world's most powerful spell or whatever, like, I was like, now I'm just gonna submit this and see. And yeah, they published it, and that's how I met you. And I really loved your wealth rite that you put in there too. Primordial Abundance of Mighty Jupiter. I performed that ritual right after I read it and got good results with that too. So yeah, just that's how this friendship started. And you performed right for me successfully every time that you've done it for me. And you're the only person to do it for me with complete success. So it really is easy to do, but hard at the same time, as in it takes a lot of time and preparation and physical effort. It's not a 30-minute candle magic spell where you just sit down at your altar and chant some gooble gobble and voila. Like, no, you got to go outside and build a giant ritual space and dig a fire pit and go buy a rooster or whatever you're going to sacrifice, and really spend a lot of time and physical effort executing this correctly. And you can't just speak the conjuration and expect it to work. Like, you need to be able to successfully pull someone out of body and be able to recognize and sense whenever that is successful. Because if you don't perform a successful evocation of the recipient, then all you're doing is killing a chicken. They're not going to receive the energy if their spirit's not present. And
I can always feel it. It begins to feel like a huge maelstrom is being conjured around you, like, and you're like in the center of like a tornado or a vortex. And I'll begin to hear, like, usually I'll begin to hear like drumming first, kind of like in a circle all around me, and then I'll begin to feel like, which I would gather is either the legions of spirits that watch over them and protect them, that are surrounding them, that are basically kind of coming in prior to their spirit, kind of like ushering them in and making sure everything's cool. Like, they kind of come in and they start to kind of circle around first, and then, like, when that person's spirit arrives, I like feel this twinge in my stomach, like in my solar plexus. Like, there's this twinge that's like, it's unlike anything else I've ever felt, and every time I feel it, it kind of frightens me because it's so different and so unique. But it just kind of all envelops you. This ritual just totally envelops you, and you become like a part of it, like in every way. And that's been my experience as the operator and as the receiver. Like, as the receiver, it's been a huge initiatory part, of my path. Really having that ritual done for me, it opened up a ton of doors, but it also helped me to like come into my own magically. Like, after I had that ritual done, things were already working for me, and I was already making sense of magic. But after you did this, things really began to fall in place. Like 1, 2, 3, I was like, oh yeah. Like, that's when I really began to really trust it and really become like one with it. So this was an integral part of my path, this ritual right here, and that's why it's definitely near and dear to my heart. And it's been explosive like every single time. I can't really remember a time that I haven't had, not just like a physical reaction to it, if you want to call it reaction, like physical experience. In that, typically, like, especially the first time, I will say the first time was the most profound. The first time, it really did feel like I was on some kind of upper or something for like 20 days or so. Like,
yeah.
I was just like filled with like so much spiritual energy that I was like overflowing and like almost couldn't handle it. And was receiving tons of downloads at that time, like tons of downloads. So anyone that gets this ritual, I definitely recommend that, like, as soon as you have it done, be ready to receive the downloads. Like, be ready to document what's happening around you, whether you videotape it, whether you're writing it down in a journal. Don't lose this precious opportunity to gain a ton of wisdom, because once this ritual is done, like the floodgates are opened and the veil is thinned like crazy for you, and you will be accessing information, really kind of like night and day. Like I was processing information night and day for like the first days to 30 days. Like,
Yeah.
you're getting downloads to the point to where, you really, it'll it'll make you go a little goofy if you can't manage it. But people like us that really have a yearning for this will be right down your alley. It'll be just what you're looking for, really. If you want that
It's
deep connection and you want that information.
yeah, it's an enhancement. It's designed to enhance the person, and it's not just magicians that have hired me to do this. It's professional athletes, musicians, artists, people that have health issues. Um, like I don't claim to be able to heal anything, and I definitely don't advertise this as a healing working, but it's a massive transfer of energy into the physical body, which then gives the body the energy that it needs to heal itself or rejuvenate itself. One of the most profound things that happened was actually fairly recently. A woman's cancer went into rapid remission after having this done, and
Awesome.
that was not something that was expected or even asked for. None of that. It was not even the reason that she booked the ritual. She booked it for a totally different reason, and she said that she had like a baseball-sized tumor. Um, and she said it started shrinking the day after I did the ritual, and within 30 days it was completely gone, which I thought that was pretty freaking crazy. Um, Things like that have happened, and the the I'll notice that the black magicians that I've done this for, like yourself, they tend to show up with a lot of company, like you were describing. It seems
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
more if you have a guardian angel, or a guardian demon, or you've made allies with an entire legion of entities, then they tend to show up with the person. And I've noticed in doing this consecutively for a person, multiple times, like yourself, that they actually their presence gets stronger and more noticeable each time I've done it for them. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, they'll show up quicker and quicker.
and it's never been the same. Like no two experiences have been the same for me, at least, performing this. It's like working with a different entity each time. The human soul is just as the human soul is a god. We just don't realize it. We're just as powerful as some of the things that people worship. As just learning how to access that power while confined to the meat suit, and this is one way to open people up to their potential. I'll say that.
Well, I highly recommend that people experience this ritual. I mean, you can, like you said, you can like utilize this ritual and tap into like the power, the capabilities of it in so many different ways. Like, I know that like I've had people that I've done succubus bindings for that have had you do sacrificial offerings, the deification rite for their succubus, or for
Yep.
sacrificial rites for certain demonic entities and things to give them an offering on their behalf to help to strengthen their relationship with that demon.
Yeah,
Like,
that happens a lot. People will book me to do this not only for like sick loved ones or something like that, but like you said, like several of your clients from the succubus binding have come to me afterwards and hired me for the deification, right? And they're like, I don't want you to do it for me. I want you to do it for this entity. And they'll send me the sigil and the name of the entity, or conjuration if they have one for it. And as long as I'm able to successfully summon that entity, make contact with it, I can successfully do the ritual for them. And that's an excellent way to empower any type of entity that you're working with, especially like a partnership, like a succubi. The stronger you make them and the more you feed them, the better the relationship is going to be.
absolutely. Oh, absolutely, no doubt about that.
While we're on the subject, we should talk about your succubus too. I know we've talked about both
Oh
these
yeah.
rights before. It's been a while. So that's something that I
Yeah.
tried. I've actually had you do it for me a few times. The first time, it really blew my mind. Everything that you told me to expect manifested the exact same night that you did the ritual. And it was a very physical experience and a very intimate relationship. It was like having an invisible girlfriend, essentially, that you could literally feel touching you, or the bed would move when she would crawl across the bed. It was awesome. It was the most awesome experience ever. My partner at the time, ex-partner, ruined that for me. Of all the things to be extremely jealous over a spirit, you know. So they started being very disrespectful, spiteful, and jealous towards that entity, saying insults out loud, and I'm like, please fucking shut up. Okay, this isn't like me that you can talk shit to. Like, if you piss this thing off bad enough, it will fuck you up, and there ain't nothing I can do to save your dumbass. You know, you need to learn to shut your mouth when you're dealing with a demon. You know, it's not like. But anyway, this person had no sense, and it turned on her violently, and I was forced to sever ties with the entity in order to save the moron from their own mouth. And so once I got rid of that partner, I had to do this again, and yeah, it's been great ever since. And it also will help you attract the right type of partner as a single man. And yeah, it's going to help you attract the perfect partner. And that partner is probably going to be much better than what you thought you were capable of getting. As, if you see my girlfriend, you'll understand when you look at me standing next to her. Like, we get looks all the time. Like, what the fuck? That dude must be a billionaire. No.
And you'll find too that, like, once you have a connection like this, like you have, you had your direct binding done, that your succubus will really be on the lookout and have her feelers open for physical women that will match your vibration. And most of them will not just be matching your vibration, they probably have an incubus or a succubus of their own, who their vibration also vibrates with your succubus's vibration. And if they vibe together, then the two of you are physically going to vibe together. So they'll actually do everything they can to bring the two of you together. And especially if you're both in it for the right reasons, they will both do everything they can to enhance that relationship, to strengthen that relationship. And on the other end of that, if you have someone that's not in it for the right reasons, they're definitely going to do whatever they can to bring that to light so that you can get out of that situation, because they're not going to want you to be in a situation that's not good for you and it's not nurturing you body, mind, and spirit. They're going to want you to be in a really nurturing, loving partnership where it's really a 50-50 thing and you're growing together, because they want to have that experience too. She's vicariously having that girlfriend experience through you. She's learning what it's like to be, JS Garrett's physical girlfriend in many senses. And then she is helping to level you up in many ways magically, but then also to enhance your everyday life, in all of the ways by, being able to really, they help you to be able to like seduce and charm people kind of at will. It's really like a kind of like a vampiric type effect where you can really put someone in that trance state to where you can then get your way. And it's not something that you really even have to do. They will just do it for you. And you will see it work. You'll get the better tables. You'll get the good parking spaces. You'll get off the hook with cops. You'll get, you'll get out of trouble in just any kind of way you can imagine. And you'll kind of see people, kind of become bewitched by them in real time. And I've seen it happen like so many freaking times. And they too, like, they enhance your aura to where they make you come across in a more beautiful way, just kind of all the time, where you're more sexually attractive and appealing to other people. You become mysterious to other people. It becomes one of those things where it's like they really want to know more about you, but they're really not sure why that is. And that drives them crazy. And so they just really kind of become obsessed. And having this kind of binding really does put that kind of energy in your aura. And you will see, like, it's absolutely true. People will be looking at you lustfully, like from all angles, everywhere you go. It just happens. It's just a fact. It will. That's a
It'll
huge
also
part of the
repel
advancement of this.
people. I was going to say it'll also repel people that you should not get involved with. Like if
Oh yeah,
someone's got a nasty case of crotch rot,
they're
it might look
they
pretty, and
are
you might
fearless
be,
protectors.
pursuing that. But I mean, you might not know, but the succubus is going to know, and they're going to say,
Hmm.
not that one. So
And they'll definitely like just really promote like an overall sense of well-being within you, like promoting you to just be healthy, really wanting you to take care of yourself. And it's not like they won't allow you to do things that aren't good for you. They definitely will. But if you do things like that, they'll try to steer you back on track. They're not gonna put the hammer down on you, but they try to promote a good healthy living when they can. And just like overall kind of, I guess, like magical mentorship and life coaching kind of wrapped up into one, and kind of a friend, confidant, and a sexual lover, if you want it to be in that way. Like, for me, I've had this involvement for a very long time, but I only really allow her to express sexually through me when I am engaging with my partner in that way, so that we're all being a part of it. Because I don't want it to be something that I'm sharing in that energy, without my physical partner, and I wouldn't want her doing that either, really. So, it's something that we just kind of all share in together, and it really does enhance our connection. It enhances our love life, enhances love making like crazy. Full body orgasms and all of that are definitely a real thing, and you can experience those, without your physical partner, and just with that spirit, you can have those types of experiences quite often. That's kind of the epitome of it. And that's kind of, some people, it's easier for others to have that kind of full manifestation. For me, I was having those kind of experiences very, very early on. But for some people, it's a little more difficult. But just be patient and do everything you can to be nurturing the relationship and communicating with the spirit. You know, placing your time and attention and energy towards the spirit, and it will respond, and you will begin to have all of those awesome interactions that you would want.
oh yeah, dude. Um, I think as long as it's something that's done, as long as you're respectful to the entity, and you treat them well, and don't, you want to acknowledge their presence. You don't want to disregard them, or not take the time to, give them some attention. As long as you're respectful and you appreciate them, you're going to have a good experience. And if not, then they're probably just going to leave you. They're not gonna stick around if you're being a douche nozzle. And it's
Yeah, I mean, I always tell
number
everybody
one
to kind of
defensive
approach it in
space.
the same way that they would a relationship with any physical woman, like to approach it in
Yeah,
that way. To
yeah,
have consideration for them. So basically, like, I'm like, okay, look, you're doing this on a Monday, right? You're doing X, Y, and Z. Okay, well, just think of it from the standpoint of everything that you're going to do that day, she's with you too. So have some consideration for her. Okay, what does that mean? Well, that means like maybe in that 3 or 4 hours, have a telepathic communication with her in your head about something in your life, whatever that might be. Whatever it is, it could be magical topics. It could be how work went yesterday. It could be like how your mom's pissing you off or something, whatever. But like, the thing that I found that strengthens the bond with these, with these spirits the most, like, having an overabundance of sexual energy is a great one, but communicating with them, like really communicating with them, like in a genuine way, like things that are like that matter, things that you actually care about and feel deeply, those kinds of things, like they really love that kind of energy, and like really getting to know you, like in like a deep romantic way, like what's in your heart, what's in your soul, like really in there. So like communicating that kind of stuff, and doing that often, that will have them coming back and coming back very strongly. So that's the number one thing, is the communication. Like keep the lines of communication open and do it on a consistent basis.
Oh yeah, man. Very well said. Very well said.
Yeah. So you can find
Well,
both of these, the rite of deification, you'll be able to find on J.S. Garrett's website, and that's jsgarrett.net. He's got all other kinds of rituals on there too, besides the rite of deification, but that one is on there. And then on my direct binding, the Succubus direct binding, you can find that on my website at jdtemple.info. And I've got other rituals on there too. That's just one of the many. But I think, I think that is certainly one of my most popular and one of my most potent rituals right there. I'd say your rite of deification is probably definitely one of your most popular too, I would say, isn't it?
yeah, it always has been, probably always will be.
Yeah, yeah, it's a powerhouse, dude. It's amazing.
I've got some awesome rituals, like wealth rites and things like that. But as far as like just overall, like holy shit, working, that has a dramatic effect on the person physically as well as mentally, spiritually, like total enhancement.
Yep.
That's I'll tell you what, when I figure out something that's more potent than that, I will definitely let people know.
And I want to remind everyone, like, go on YouTube and search up rite of deification. Behemoth X, he has a review of this ritual on his channel from years ago, and I think there's several other content creators that have a review of the rite of deification. So check that out, and certainly check it out for yourself. That is, if you're a black magician, if you're a witch, if you are into left hand path spirituality, especially, this is certainly a ritual that you want to have in your spiritual repertoire. This is something that I will be, having performed for myself and performing as well my own, forever and ever. It is really that sacred and that powerful. So certainly check that out at jsgarrett.net. Check out the Succubus and Incubus direct binding at jdtemple.info. And we love you guys. Subscribe to our YouTube channels too.
Yeah, brother. Appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks, JS. I'll talk to you soon, man.
Take care, brother. Night.
See ya. Mm-hmm.